My first football game. Man, all right. So I wanted to play football. Um, I wanted to play football, and yeah, so sixth grade, right? And so my grandmother picked me up from school, and when she picked me up from school, we had to pass by the park. The park was called National Guard Park. So we had to pass up National Guard Park. So on the way we're going, we see this table set up. Table set up, and there's a ton of kids lined up, right? And then there's these two ladies, and they have some paperwork. And I look at it, and I'm like, Nana, I think that's for football. I want to play football. She's like, well, do you think you have time, right? Because I'm singing, I'm doing all these things. I'm like, Nana, I want to try. I want to try to play football. And so she said, all right. So let's check it out. So she pulls over, and I jump out of the van, and I run over to the table. I wait in line for a little bit. There's only like at this point like four or five people in front of me. And I get to the ladies, and I say, is this for football? Is this to play football? And they say, yeah, it's for Yaffle football. And I say, all right, I want to play football. And she's like, okay, well, here's your paperwork, and this is what it costs, and we can sign you up today. So I get the paperwork. I run back to the van. I give them to my grandmother. It was like, I don't know, like $60 or something like that. And they provided your pads, your helmet, everything, your jersey. I mean, it was awesome. It was so affordable at that point. And of course, they didn't give them to you, but they provided them. You'd use all of these things. You got to keep your jersey though. We had to get our own mouth guard and our own cleats if we could afford them. If not, they'd figure out a way to get cleats. But we had our own cleats. So I ran back, gave her a check, gave her my paperwork. She said, all right, cool. What team do you want to be on? I said, well, what teams are there? And she said, well, there's the Jets and the Bears. That's all that's left. I was like, And I remember thinking, well, Bears real strong. Bears strong. But the Jets are fast, right? And I'm like, I think Jets is the best team for me to be on. And so I said the Jets. I want to be on the Jets. And they said, all right, cool. So they signed me up for the Jets. I was so excited going back to the van. I just couldn't believe it. Like I was going to play football, man. And it was going to be the next day. They're starting the pre-practice. We wouldn't be practicing with our team yet, but we'd be practicing with the entire Yaffle organization. And they're going to get us in shape and then break us up into our teams. And so I remember I could barely sleep that night. Like I was so excited to play some football, man. And next day came, and we went out there, and we'd have to go do karaoke's, and we'd have to do was that what they called, karaoke's? I don't know. Anyways, we'd have to do side steps. We'd have to all kinds of different things, right? And it was a blast. It was a blast. Practice was cool. Bear crawls. Do bear crawls. We weren't doing hitting drills or anything yet. Just all of the calisthenics, and I loved it. I loved it. Push-ups, squats, stuff like that. And there's a few kids from my school there. Mario was there. A few other guys. My friend Ryan, he was on the team with me. He was on the Jets. Mario was on the Bears. So there's a few different kids, but we were all practicing together. And so we went through a few days of that, and then it was time to go pick up our pads. So we went to this warehouse and gave them our paperwork, and they gave us pads, and I had a helmet, and I had my shoulder pads. I put my shoulder pads on, I had my pants, and you put your knee pads in the pants, and you put your hip pads in the pants, you put your thigh pads in the pants, and then you put your pants on. And so I was learning all this new stuff, right? And so I was super excited. So then we show up to practice. When I get to practice, coach comes to me and says, all right, son, what's your name? I tell my name. He says, okay, what position do you want to play? Football? I want to play football. I said, no, what position? Do you want to be a running back? Do you want to be a quarterback? Do you want to be a fullback? Do you want to play on the line? Where do you want to play? I had no idea what he was talking about. I'd never played organized football before. I mean, we played at school, and all we would do is hike the ball and then run as fast as we can, hope that somebody would throw it to you, try to catch it, keep running for a touchdown before you got touched. So this whole position thing, I was like, I didn't watch football on TV, and I didn't have anyone to watch it with or explain it to me. So I didn't really get what he was talking about. He said, all right, well, we're going to throw you on the line then. You're going to be a guard. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm a guard. So we'll see what that looks like. And so they explained to me, here's your job. Your job is to stop anyone from getting past you. So if you see them coming towards you, they want to try to get past you to go tackle our quarterback, you stop them. And then we're going to teach you plays, and you're going to shut one hole or the other depending on where they're moving. I'm like, all right, I can learn that, So that's what I was. And I liked it, but I would look at the guys getting the ball, and I'm like, man, that's so much cooler, Like, why didn't I say I wanted to be a fullback or quarterback or something? And here's the thing is, I didn't know how, so I doubt I would have gotten the position, but I didn't even know to ask for the position. That's how bad it was. And so time went by, and, I play my position. It was cool. Like, I'm learning, and we're into the first week of practice. Then one day coach says, come here. He said, all right, I'm going to put you on the other side. So he put me as a linebacker. He said, here's your job. Whoever gets that ball, you chase them and tackle them. That's your only job, whatever it takes to get to them. Now, I already knew what linemen did because I knew they would try to stop me. So I knew I had to get past them, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm waiting and watching. They hike the ball. Boom. Quarterback gets the ball. His name was Emmett, I believe. He takes a few steps back, and I'm like, boom. I lock on. And I run, and I hit that line, and I do a little swim move right over whoever's trying to stop me. And I get right by them. Boom. Like they're not even there. Take my 2 steps, drop my level, and boom. I hit that quarterback so hard. Just black. I hear the crack of the pads. I can feel him whip. And I slam him in the ground with everything I have. I can just, whoa, and I hear his breath come out. And he's like, ugh. And I slide up, and he had dropped the ball. And when I slide up, it ends up in my arms. And I just grab it, and I hug it, and I get into a little ball, and then everybody piles up on top of me. Coach gets everyone out, and there I am, and I got the ball. And he was like, that's your position. That's the position you're going to play. I loved it. I loved hunting down anyone who had the audacity to have that ball. It was my thing. It didn't matter. That quarterback had the ball, I'm going after him. He hands it off, I'm going off to whoever he hands it off. I didn't even know. I don't know if that's a fullback. I don't know if that's a running back. I don't know what kind of back that is. You have the ball, and I'm going to hit you. And I loved it. I still played offensive line. It was cool. I did my part. But I loved playing linebacker. That was my part. And then they also moved me up to the defensive line, which was great too. I love that too. Like, just let me bust through that line and hit someone. That's all I cared about. I loved the position. And so we practiced, man. We're doing our thing, and then I liked it. I was coming into my own. I liked football. And I was making friends on the team. And so it was the weekend of our game. And so I can't remember if we were going to play like on a Sunday or how it worked out. But however it worked out, my grandfather the day before took my brother and I, and we went fishing. And we had a really cool fishing trip. My grandfather was awesome, man. So we went first we go to the dump the trash, and we'd have a cool adventure there, run through the hills, about a mile run through the hills. To the dump, he'd drop us off, and he'd go to the dump, and we'd do our run through the hills for fun. We'd find rocks and stuff like that, and then by the time we got there, he would usually have the trash all thrown. If we got there before it was all done, if he had to wait or whatever, we'd help him throw the trash, and then we'd get back in the truck, and then he would go, and we'd do a little adventure, and this time we went and we did a fishing trip. So we had done that, and then after the fishing trip, we went to the restaurant to get some food so that we could eat. And we walk into the restaurant. My grandmother's sitting there, and he's talking to 2 gentlemen. She's talking to 2 guys. And says, hey, Nana. And we walk in, and she stops me. Chachacho, come here. She Rico, come here. Gets me my brother. So we walk over to her and she's like, Hito, say hi to your dad. Well, my dad. So I look over and sure enough, it's my dad and he's sitting there with some man. I don't know who. But he's slick. Like I remember he had a white button down shirt. Hair was combed. Mustache looked good. Handsome as can be. Clear, clean as could be. I'm like, Dad, how you doing? He's like, hey, Hito. He gives me this hug, what's going on, Hito, this and that. And so we talk for a little while, and he's like, hey, sit down. I want to talk to you seriously. And I'm like, okay. So I sit down, and he says, Hito, I'm going to clean up. I'm going to get clean. My mom had left him at this point. She was with Mike. I'm going to get clean up. I'm going to get clean, and, I'm going to change some things. Oh, Dad, that's great. I believed him. And he said, your Nana's going to help me. She's going to help me with the rehab, and I want to make things better. And so that was huge, right? Like, I really believed him. I believed him every time. I've been to every single rehab in New Mexico, visiting my mom and my dad. But every time they told me they were going to go get clean, I believed them. So he said, I'm going to go get clean. I said, all right, that's awesome. He's a heroin addict, right? He suffered from a golden arm, and that's a rough thing, So he said, look, Hito, I got to go to Albuquerque, blah, blah. I said, Dad, I have a game tonight. No, it wasn't. Tomorrow night. Do you think you can make it? And he said, I'll make it. I got to go to Albuquerque, but I'll be back on time. I'll go to your game. I said, all right. It's at 6 o'clock, National Guard Park. He said, I know where that is. I said, all right, I'll see you there. Now, I had played basketball already, and he didn't show up to any of my games, not one. I think my mom might have shown up to one. So I really didn't expect him to show up to my game. And so that was that. We left, right? I didn't even think about it much after that. Went home. We had dinner at the restaurant, or a late lunch, went home, chilled out, and we went to bed. Next day, man, I'm ready to go. I get up early. I'm just waiting for this game, man. I can't believe it. Like, I'm going to play my first game. It's going to happen. And I have all my stuff organized. Like, I'm like, all right, I got my pads here. Got my pads in my pants, all the things, right? Got my knee pads in, got my thigh pads in, got my hip pads in, got everything's there. Everything's ready to go. Got my helmet ready, got my mouthpiece ready. Don't forget your mouthpiece. All right, I'm not going to forget my mouthpiece. Put it all in my bag. Boom, boom, boom. All right, everything's set. Put it by the door. I'm eating good. I'm drinking water. I'm ready. I'm going to have a game. And I'm excited. I'm going to have a game. My first game. Hey, guys, I'm going to have a game. And so my grandpa said, all right, Hito, time, let's go. I'm like, okay. So I grabbed my bag. We had to do the drive from Pojoaque to Santa Fe. We get there about a half hour later. All the kids are out and they're starting to get warmed up. I grabbed my stuff. My grandpa said, all right, Hito, I'll be back for the game. So he leaves while we're doing our warm up. We had to be there about an hour early. I'm sure he had something to do. He's a busy guy. So I'm getting warmed up, this and that. And one of the kids in line looks over and he says, who's that guy? And so I look over and there's a man and he's walking towards us, no shirt on. And as I look a little closer, it turns out that's my dad. I'm like, wow, no shirt. Okay. So he walks up and I'm thinking, nah, this dude's going to be wasted or something. Like, he's walking up, no shirt, in the middle of the park. Like, great. And so he walks up and he says, hey, Hito, how you doing? And he's not wasted at all. As a matter of fact, he's totally clear, just like he was the day before. And I'm like, hey, Dad, where's your shirt? Nah, Hito, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. There's nothing to worry about. You focus on your game, he tells me. I'm like, all right. I'll focus on my game. So we finish warming up, march over to the field. It's time to play. My grandparents are there. They're sitting on the bleachers. My dad's there. He still doesn't have a shirt on. And it's starting to get dark. Now, here's the thing. In New Mexico, it can be warmer, but once it gets dark, it'll get cold, especially in the fall. So it starts to get cold, real cold, to the point where I see him. He's shivering, and he's like, trying to stay warm. Somebody gives him a blanket, and he's covered himself with a blanket. No shirt under in his pants. And we're playing, man, and I'm playing my heart out, man. I'm making tackles, I'm making hits. I'm in every defensive play. I'm in on the offensive plays, and I'm playing the line like I'm playing, and we're losing. We're losing bad, and we're losing, and we're losing. Not bad, but we're losing. And I see my dad, and he's just moving with the plays, like as we're playing, and we're going from one part of the field to the other. And as we gain yardage, as we lose yardage, he's right there with us, and he's cheering, and he was all about it. He was there. We lose the game. First football game. It's not bad. I walk up to him and I have my little Capri Sun and my orange because they had brought snacks. One of the parents, whatever parents was supposed to bring snacks that they brought them, so I had my stuff. I walk up and I'm like, hey, Dad, I'm sorry. I'm sorry we lost. What do you mean? I'm so proud of you, Hito. I'm so proud of you. You played hard. You did good. I'm so proud of you, Hito. My grandparents come out, we're proud of you too. I'm like, wow, it's cool, man. I didn't have to win, and they were proud of me. Not like in music. I mess up in music, and it was rough, man. Mess up in music, you're going to be held accountable. You lose a game, everybody still loves you. I'm like, all right, cool. So my dad gives me a big hug, and he says, Hito, I love you so much. I'll be at your next game, I promise. I'm like, thank you, Dad. Thank you for coming. So he says his goodbyes to my grandmother, my grandfather, and everybody kind of feels like, hey, something's going to change. Like, he's making this effort. It's cool. So we get in the truck and we leave. And we get to the house, we're doing our thing. And so the next day, which I guess was the Sunday, my grandfather pops up early and he wants to go and do some stuff again. And we were just having a great weekend, right? And so we go fishing again, but this time we go somewhere else. And when we get there, we have a great time. We fish throughout the day. And my mom had gone to the house. Now remember, my mom and dad aren't together anymore. So my mom goes by the house. She's helping my grandmother clean because my grandmother would pay her instead of paying a cleaning lady to help her so my mom could make some extra money. So they're doing their thing, we're out doing our thing, and maybe my grandfather was just taking us to get us out of the way while they clean the house. Well, when we get back to the house, everything's kind of thrown, which was weird because my grandmother was like a neat freak. Like everything had its place. Everything had its place, right? But I remember seeing the broom was thrown and the rag was thrown, like kind of off to the side on the floor. And I walk in, I thought, oh, that's weird. But I'm like, oh, where's Nana? My grandfather said, I don't know. He goes to the back, go take a nap, right? He's tired. Like he's been running around with kids all weekend. And so me and my brother, we go and we had a Super Mario Brothers and we throw on Super Mario Brothers. And it's like, dunk, 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 da dunk, da dunk, da dunk, da dunk, da dunk, dunk, da dunk, dunk, ba da ba da bum 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 ba da dunk. And we're playing. Bum bum bum, And so I'm going, it's my turn. He's going, it's his turn. And we are all trying to get past level 8, I think, at that point and kill the dragon. And so we're up there, man. We're like level 6, 7, right? We're playing, we're into it. And my grandmother walks in the house and she just walks right past us straight to the bedroom where my grandfather is taking his nap. I keep playing. My grandmother yells from that back, hey, Chacho, come here. We need you. We need to talk to you. I'm like, dang, what did I do? And so I get up and I walk back there. And she says, sit down. I said, okay. So I sit down. I thought I was in trouble or something, And she says, Hito, Freddie's dead. I kind of take it in. She says, Chacho, your dad died today. And I'm like, okay, what happened? She said he had a drug overdose. And I said, well, no, he was getting clean. That makes sense, He said, no. He had went to Albuquerque. That's why he went, was to get methadone. And when he took his methadone, he OD'd on it and he died. He's dead. He's gone. I said, oh, where's my mom? And they said, well, your mom's with him. Your mom is with his body. Okay, so. And she said, will you send Rico over? And I said, yeah. So I got up and I left the room. Right as I got there, my brother had died on his turn at the game on Super Mario Brothers. So it was my turn. So I grabbed my controller and I started playing. And I said, "Hey, Nana wants to talk to you. Go to the room." He said, "Okay." So I kept playing. Dun, dun, dun. And so I'm playing, and then he walks back and he sits down. And the timing was impeccable. Right as he walks back, I died. So he grabs his game and he continues to play. We're both sitting there. We're just playing back and forth, trying to beat level 8. And he says, "So Dad's dead?" And I said, "Yes." And that was it. That was our conversation about it. He kept playing and I kept playing. My mom showed up a few hours later. She was wasted. I'd never seen her so drunk and high in my life. My grandmother bathed her and cleaned her and put her in some clothes, and we put her to bed. Her heart was so broken, man. And that was that. My grandmother got up with her the next day, and they started figuring things out for the funeral. And my mom had left my dad hoping that he would get better. That was the promise everyone told my mom. Leave him. He's probably going to outlive all of us. Leave him. He'll see that he's lost you, and he'll try, and he'll make it better. And then she did leave him, and then she ended up with this other guy, and all this stuff happened, and now he's dead. And she's broken, man. Broken. So 3 days later, there's a rosary. And my mom says to me, she said, Hito, it's your dad's rosary. I said, "Mom, I'm not going to the rosary." Said, "What do you mean you're not going to the rosary?" I said, "I'm not going." So, "Well, why aren't you going to the rosary?" I said, "Well, I have a game." Now, I was nervous to say this because I knew it was going to be an issue. She said, "You're not playing a game instead of going to your father's rosary? Your father who has passed away?" And I said, "No, I'm playing my game, Mom. I'm not going to the rosary." My grandmother said, "Well, if he doesn't want to go, he doesn't have to go." So my mom just couldn't get it. I told her, "Mom, my dad's going to be at my game. He's not going to be at the rosary. He told me he'd be there. So I got to be there too." It's funny, my mom could never see that. But I knew it. I knew that's where he was going to be. He told me. So I went and I played my game, and I played a terrible game. We lost. It was rough. It was rough. Next was the funeral. And I remember he had a beautiful baby blue casket. I remember looking at him like, "Man, it's a baby blue casket." His brother was our cousin was just drunk, just screaming in the church. And we left there, and then we went to the burial, and my mom told me that I had to sing a song. And the song I sang is called Mi Ranchito. And I'll give you a little part of it. The song goes like, "Allá al pie de la montaña, donde temprano se oculta el sol, quedó mi ranchito triste y abandonada ya mi labor. Allá me pasé los años, ahí encontré mi primer amor. Y fueron los desengaños los que mataron a mi ilusión." Try not to jack up the mic, and it's not really meant for singing in, but that was it, And I sang that song, and then they gave me the shovel, and I put the first shovel of dirt, and they gave me a cross, and that was it. That's what I had left of my dad. My mom was so upset with me because I didn't go to the rosary still, and she was not halfway, she was wasted even then. And that was that. I didn't shed a tear, but I knew I lost something. Man, I hate drugs. Hate drugs. It's an epidemic, man. Espanola, New Mexico, Santa Cruz, it's just like riddled pain. Riddled with it, Right now, my brother, Rico Taylor, me, and my son, Robel Taylor. It's all that's left, We have our uncle. I had a cousin, Chris Taylor. I don't know where he is. I don't know if he's alive or not. He went to prison, then kind of disappeared. But besides that, everyone's gone, man. Drug overdoses, violent deaths. But I'm causing a change. I'm doing my best to cause a change in this family, the DNA of this family, and the direction of this family. So far, it's going pretty good. I'm real happy. I love my kids, man. They're doing great. Like I said, man, there's nothing we can't affect. There's nothing we can't improve on. It might take some time, but things will be better. Anyways, that was my first football game. And Dad, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Love you. And this is my dyslexic life. Remember, you can always make things better. Be in gratitude, man. The more you appreciate, the more good things will happen to you. It's just the way it goes. Thanks.